Saudi Arabia is involved in Yemen. Hundreds, if not thousands, in fact, of civilians have been killed, as well as militias. The UN and other groups have basically said that there's indiscriminate airstrikes and a lot of civilians, and you know MSF blames Saudi Arabia for the bombing of one of its hospitals. What do you have to say about the charges about indiscriminate bombing and civilian casualties?
There are two parts to this. One is, it is going very well. We had a situation where a militia that is allied with Iran and Hezbollah took over a country. A militia that is in possession of heavy weapons, ballistic missiles, and an air force. Even Hezbollah doesn't have an air force. So that presented a clear and present danger to Saudi Arabia and our neighbors. We had a legitimate government of Yemen that was about to be destroyed, asked for help, and we went in. This was not a war of choice. This was a war of necessity. So we went in, defended the legitimate government, removed to a large extent the threat from the missiles and the air force that would have presented itself to Saudi Arabia, and we have worked over time in order to capture more territory and hand it over to the legitimate government of Yemen. The Yemeni government now is in control of roughly 75% of the territory.
When do you think this will be done?
Nobody can predict when wars end.
And what about the civilians?
I will get to this in a moment. It's been proceeding according to plan, took a little longer, but such is the nature of war. With regards to civilian casualties, a lot of this is overblown. We have been very careful in how we use our military. We record our aircraft, the operations, both audio and video. We ensure that we minimize civilian casualties. There have been mistakes. Where there have been mistakes, we investigate. We acknowledge wrongdoing, and we put in place procedures to ensure that it doesn't happen again. Many of the charges, Christiane, that people have leveled at Saudi Arabia, especially rights organizations, have been unfounded, if not outright lies. They accused us of bombing the old city of Yemen, of Sana'a, turned out to be not the case. They accused us of bombing a UN building, turned out to be not the case. They accused us of bombing a wedding party in which more than 100 people died, turned out not to be the case. And when the Houthis attack Saudi cities with missiles and mortar and kill Saudis, I haven't seen one of these organizations criticize them for it. There's a report by Human Rights Watch about Saudi Arabia using cluster bombs. That is not correct.
Obviously, you've had a lot of criticism over the treatment of women. You know, the Swedish foreign minister has been sort of persona non grata because of her criticism of some of the actions domestically. But what about the blogger Raif Badawi? And what about people like that who have done nothing but writing and blogging and have been lashed and have been put in prison and have created, you know, a lot of sympathy overseas? What is his fate?
His fate is in the courts, and the courts will make a decision. And in Saudi Arabia, our courts are independent, and whatever the decisions of the courts are, that will be respected. We're a sovereign country. We have our legal system. And we expect people to respect it, just like we respect their legal systems.
But you understand why it creates so much criticism and, in a way, antipathy.
A lot of the cases that create criticism tend to be misunderstood in terms of what the actual legal issues are. A lot of the cases, a lot of times people, when it comes to Saudi Arabia, come to conclusions before they go through the facts. A lot of times it's based on incomplete information. But whatever the story is, nobody has a right to criticize the legal system of Saudi Arabia except the Saudi people.
Part of the recent outrage against Saudi Arabian judiciary is the unprecedented number of executions, I believe 47, including the Shiite cleric, which caused so much hullabaloo in Iran and around the world. It just looks bad, 47 people being executed. The world can't understand it, your allies don't understand it, and your adversaries don't understand it.
They were terrorists.
All of them?
They were put on trial. The trials were available to the public, including the media. They went through 3 levels of trials. They went through the appeals process to the Supreme Court. They were reviewed. The evidence was overwhelming against them. One of the people, for example, who was put to death was the man responsible for attacking the US consulate in Jeddah that resulted in the death of a number of people. Others who were put to death were the ones responsible for the bombings in Riyadh in 2003 that were in 3 housing compounds that resulted in the deaths of a number of people. All of them were terrorists. We have the death penalty. We make no bones about it. America has the death penalty. I don't see people complaining about the United States having a death penalty. With regards to the cleric, he is as much a cleric as Osama bin Laden was a cleric. He was a terrorist. He recruited, he financed, he plotted, he executed. His actions led to the death of a number of police officers in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
The world looks at the very hardline version of Sunni Islam that is in Saudi Arabia, and they ask whether you accept and understand that it's my way or the highway. I'm the only one who knows the truth and everybody else is a heretic worthy of being killed. These are the people from whom ISIS recruits. These are the people who are the foot soldiers and the battalions and the brigades of the worst kinds of terrorists around the world.
That's not correct, Christiane. Nobody in Saudi Arabia says this. This is absolutely not correct. The people
around the world are asking about the inspiration that this kind of hardline Islam gives to the terrorists.
The people that ISIS recruits from are from all over the world. We have been attacked by ISIS or Daesh 5 times in the past year. Baghdadi wants to take over Saudi Arabia, Mecca and Medina. They are our sworn enemy. Nothing in the Islamic faith condones the killing of the innocent.
I didn't say the Islamic faith. I said these particular people who form the foot soldiers of this terrorist group.
They're not Saudi. It's outrageous to say that these people, or their ideology comes from Saudi Arabia. Absolutely outrageous. We have a large number of foreigners living in Saudi Arabia, many of them non-Muslims. We have a country that's open to people. Conservative, yes. Violent, no. We didn't know terrorism until recently in Saudi Arabia. We are a victim of this. Our religious scholars have condemned this. They reject this. Our people have rejected this. We have suffered attacks by ISIS and before that Al-Qaeda. For people to say that Saudi Arabia is the one that's promoting this.
Not the Saudi government. I'm talking about the foot soldiers. I'm talking about the ideology and the philosophy that are very hardline.
What ideology and what philosophy?
Wahhabi, Salafism.
We have a country. We have 250,000 of our young men and women studying all over the world on government scholarships. Is this intolerance? 55% of our college students are women. Is this intolerance? I think this is misplaced.
Foreign Minister Al-Jubeir, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
You're welcome.